Sure.
Okay, everybody, the recording is on now. Okay, Regu, let's go ahead. Let's talk about your issue. Now, also,
Okay.
as I was mentioning, so let's keep this session light. So I wanted to keep this session light, and I'm not going to talk about any major services. We'll be talking about talking on Saturday. On Saturday, we'll talk about S3 and then mainly integrating EC2 and S3, using some CLI, command line interface. We'll talk about more than that, roles and placement groups, etc., etc. So,
sure.
So let's talk about it. So now, can you go ahead and describe the problem?
Oh, me?
Just mute.
Hello.
Hello, can you all mute except Raghu?
Okay. Okay, so I think, do you want me to share my screen or should?
1 second. Okay. Okay. So Raghu, your question was about auto scaling groups, right?
Correct.
So there are 3 settings in auto scaling group. So we can go ahead and get started. Okay, before auto scaling group, okay, let me show you something else. Okay, so go ahead and mute yourself also, Raghu. Let me talk about some ancillary concepts within EC2, and then we will get to that. So there are multiple types of policies. We'll talk about each one of them. So let's do this. There is a concept called CloudWatch. Have you guys heard of it? In EC2, it's not related to EC2 actually. There is an AWS service called CloudWatch. CloudWatch helps you monitor your AWS resources. So let's say you have EC2 instances, you have application load balancers, etc. So what CloudWatch does is it keeps watching your resources, and then anytime it goes above certain threshold. So let's say EC2 instance, and you don't want EC2 instance to go above 80% CPU at any time or 90%. Okay, so you want to get notified when things happen, and you also want Amazon or AWS to take an action automatically using auto scaling group. So you can do that one also. So let's talk about the CloudWatch. So it is inside the services section, and then go to management and governance here. So this is CloudWatch. So by the way, I'm assuming all of you are pretty serious about taking the Solutions Architect Associate test, okay, the certification. I highly recommend you do, all of you. As I was saying on day 1, I had 3 goals for you. I want you to be completely comfortable with most of the AWS services and also understand the architectural principles. And then number 3 is the certification. So anyways, the point is CloudWatch is one of the exam topics. It's going to be one of the exam topics. At least you'll get a couple of marks.
So, Venkat, quick question.
Yes.
So I think when you are setting up the ALS, and I think there too we get an option to set up CloudWatch monitoring. This is the same thing?
Yes. So okay. I'll show you that way also. But this is essentially the CloudWatch dashboards. You can set up your own dashboards. So, but by default, this is where it takes you, CloudWatch. So if you want to monitor your application ELBs, elastic load balancers, you'll be able to monitor that. And if you want EC2 instances to be monitored, so you can click on EC2 and then it will give you a graph of all the instances out there. I have these many instances. Each one of them has an instance ID. So if you look at it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 instances here. Actually, these are all terminated, but it shows you the recently used ones. So I'll maximize it. So this is a CPU utilization average. So this is one of the default metrics that it shows. So you're asking it to show every 5 minutes, average of every 5 minutes. Then let's say I'll change it to average of every 1 minute. Give me the last 1 hour. So the last 1 hour, so this is a blue is one instance, orange is another instance, green is another instance. See that? See the graphs here, focus here. And then the red is another instance, and purple is another instance. Look at purple here, guys. So it started at 3:26:21:58. By the way, this time zone, this is UTC. Okay, that's the default time zone. It shows 21:58 is it's about 69.5 CPU percentage utilization, and then it went up to 70 in the next 1 minute, pretty much, yeah. And then 22:01 in the next 1 minute, it stayed 100%, stayed 100%. It's slowly coming down, etc. Okay, so this is giving you the graph of the CPU utilization in the last 1 hour. It's taking the data point of every 1 minute. Okay, so take a look at this one. Take a look at this guy. Okay, this is orange. This particular instance graph is that it started from 0.2% to all the way till 1.2. So that means it's not much going on in this EC2. So how about this one? Same thing, not much going on. Same thing. Okay, take a look at this guy. This guy, something was going on there. So 21:58, this is what we just looked at it. And then how about this one? Nope, this one didn't have anything. Okay, this is the data. So this is a CPU utilization average, but that's not the only metric. You have the disk read bytes average, disk read ops average, network in, network out, etc. So we have all of these metrics. Okay, and this is for EC2. And similarly, you can go to application ELBs and Elastic Block Store. Elastic Block Store is the hard disk that is attached to your EC2 instances. You know that EBS stands for Elastic Block Store. That's a hard disk attached to your EC2 instance, correct? So this is about CloudWatch. And also, you can create alarms here. See here, alarms. And currently, I don't have any alarms. Let me go ahead and create an alarm here. And then select metric. So do you want to create an alarm for application load balancer, auto scaling, Elastic Block Store, or EC2? Let me go ahead and do EC2. And what do you want to get it? Per instance metrics? Yeah, I want to get it per instance, meaning each instance. And then let me go look at the CPU utilization. There you go. So I'll select this guy, CPU utilization, and then select metric. So CPU utilization is a metric name, and this is the instance ID. I think instance ID is terminated. So what we'll go ahead and do is, first let's go ahead and create an EC2 instance, and then come back and create a dashboard, and we'll keep watching it, what exactly happens. Okay, so let me go to EC2. Let me create a new instance. I'll take a simple Amazon Linux instance details. Yeah, I want one. All the standard stuff. I can probably copy paste my Unix commands, the startup script, bootstrap. Yeah, I want this to be Apache installed and running, add tags. I'm not, you know what? Let's go ahead and do it. Should I call it web server 1? Okay, I created a web server, my security group, review launch key pair. Very good. So this is the EC2 instance. It's coming up. Now let's go ahead and go to CloudWatch. Oh, by the way, before we go to CloudWatch, let's get the instance ID. Is there an instance ID? It ends with 2AE8. 2AE8. Okay. Let's go to CloudWatch.
So CloudWatch itself is a service, right, Venkat?
CloudWatch itself is a service, yes. So CloudWatch continuously monitors your resources, and you can create the you can create the alarms so that you will get notified when the resource utilization goes above the threshold that you are interested in. Let's say you want to get notified when any EC2 instance CPU utilization goes above 80%. Then you will get an email notification. Make sense? And CloudWatch is like all of you are working somewhere, right? In your organizations, maybe most of you. And then you definitely have CloudWatch like monitoring in your office, whether you know it or not. Your operations team knows about it. So there are some infrastructure monitoring tools like Nagios. Have you heard of Nagios before?
We use New Relic.
Okay, there you go. You guys use New Relic, and you can use Dynatrace, New Relic, Nagios.
SiteScope, HP Diagnostics.
What is that?
The SiteScope and HP Diagnostics. We use HP Diagnostics.
Ah, you use HP Diagnostics. I see.
We have Dynatrace as well.
Okay.
We use Dynatrace too. Yeah.
Okay. So yes. And what's the instance ID that we are looking for? 4E2D. Let me go and get that guy. Okay.
The web server one, right? It was there.
Oh, it was there?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is my instance ID. Okay. And by default, I want to say that by default, Amazon will give you the most basic monitoring that runs every 5 minutes. So it gets the go-to monitoring here for this EC2 instance, and then you'll see that CloudWatch metrics, basic monitoring. Basic monitoring is, it gets the metrics every 5 minutes. But I highly recommend, just for this demo, okay, and your free tier does not support detailed monitoring. So I am enabling the detailed monitoring. When you enable the detailed monitoring, your frequency will change to 1 minute. So it starts pulling this data every 1 minute, not every 5 minutes anymore. Yes, enable it. Okay. But I want you to understand this is not free. You will get charged a bit. So I still recommend you go play with it, enable the detailed monitoring, and then go to CloudWatch dashboard and create an alarm for you, get notified, and then come back, terminate the instance, right? So I'm talking about few cents if you're able to terminate this within an hour. That's all right. Okay, not a big deal. So let's go to CloudWatch now. I enable detailed monitoring. So CloudWatch will be able to pull now per minute, every minute. Click on EC2. Okay, so this is my web server one. And let's enhance it. This is the web server one. Okay, within, I want 1 minute. In the last 1 hour, give me the web server one. Nope, no data yet. So that's fine. So what we'll do is, it's not been 1 minute, right? So that's why we don't have the data yet. What we'll do is, let's go to alarms, and then let's create an alarm. Select metric. I want EC2 per instance metrics, and then this guy. CPU utilization.
It's just, I think, 1 page above.
Yep.
Yeah, right there.
So CPU utilization. Oh. Okay. So this is the web server 1. For web server 1, I'm selecting that metric and creating an alarm. So CPU utilization, instance ID is this guy, instance name is web server 1. Statistic is average, or do you want to do average or maximum? I'll do maximum. So with the period is 5 minutes. I don't want to wait for 5 minutes. I'll do within 1 minute. Okay. So it's a static. If its threshold is greater than or equal to 90%. Okay. So if it's greater than 90%, 1 out of 1, meaning you can say that so let's say within 5 minutes interval, if 2 consecutive minutes have reached above this threshold, then notify me. Or because there's no point in doing it every single time it goes 90%, right? So if in 1 minute it goes to 90% and the next minute it comes back to 40%, there's no point, there's no point in us getting notified. At that time, you want to say that, monitor it for 5 minutes. And then if it goes above 90% for more than 3 consecutive times, then you say that 3 out of 5 times, then alert me. But in this particular case, just because I don't want to wait for that long for the class, and that's why I want to do it 1 out of 1. Define the number of data points within evaluation period that must be breaching to cause the alarm to go alarm state. Make sense? Treat missing data as missing. Next, and then, okay, alarm state trigger. When alarm goes off, then you put the status in alarm state, and then select an SNS topic. SNS stands for Simple Notification Service. This is one of the oldest services. Okay, it's been there for some time. Essentially, it will notify you when an event is triggered. Okay, and I don't have an SNS topic by default. When an event is triggered, you can send a notification to SNS topic. Okay, and I don't have a topic, so I want to create a new topic. Create a new topic, and I'll call this one as CloudWatch EC2 CPU utilization. Okay, this is my CloudWatch. This is my topic, and I want to configure this topic to my email address. Go ahead and create a topic and select that topic now, CloudWatch _ EC2 CPU utilization. And this is my email. And see this one? Do you want to take any auto scaling action? No, just notify me. Any EC2 action? There you go. EC2 action, guys. What it means is, if at all CPU utilization goes above 90%, if you want your EC2 instance to be restarted, like rebooted, then you can add an EC2 action here. You can say that in alarm, reboot this instance or terminate this instance. Okay, you can do that. But I'm not doing any of that. All I'm saying is please notify me when things go wrong. So alarm name, I'll use the same thing, EC2 CloudWatch EC2 CPU utilization. Go to next, and then see this? This is the red bar here. If it goes above red bar, then we'll get notified. Create alarm. Okay, I have it created. So now what we'll do is we'll have to wait for the data to be grabbed. Currently, it's there's no data. And now see this one, it's saying pending confirmation. So it's going to send an email because we created a brand new topic there, right? With my email ID. So it would have sent an email to my email saying that, hey, please confirm that this is your email ID. So let me go ahead and do that. So this is my subscription confirmation, confirm subscription, and I did that. Okay, let's come back, refresh it. Oops. Did I do the wrong? This is 55 minutes ago. No, I want the new 650. Okay. You have chosen to subscribe to this topic. Okay, or confirm subscription. Very good. Let's go ahead and refresh it. Yes, now it's good. Now it will start, collecting the data. See this one, status is okay. This alarm status right now is okay, meaning the server is running fine. Okay, let's break that. So let's log in to our EC2 instance. Web server 1, let's connect. And now I'm going to run the script that blows, that cranks up the CPU. So while true, do echo something, and then done. There you go. Keep running. And tell me how frequently is Amazon gathering the metrics from this EC2 instance? Because we have a detailed monitoring, it's pulling every 1 minute. Okay, it's an important question in the exam also. Okay, so we'll wait for 1 minute and then we'll know. We can watch that guy. CloudWatch. Go ahead.
I have one quick question, Venkat.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, in a real-time scenario, right? I don't want alert to come immediately because the there might be some probably a situation where it might spike for certain times. I want to see 3-4 iterations, but whether if it's real alert.
Yep.
Like interval, 2 minutes interval or 3 minutes interval. I want to see if that stays there.
Yep. So that's where we were checking, right? So you can define the interval and then say, hey, within this 5-minute interval, okay, if it crosses, if it fails all 5 times, then notify me. Or if we say that, or increase your interval saying that within 10 minutes, if it cross, more than 7 times, then it's an issue. You know what I'm saying?
So, okay. So it will give 7 times. It'll okay.
Yeah. You can define the interval there. 1 out of how many times? So you can take a look at the alarm configuration, right? See that? For 1 data point within 1 minute. And you can specify how many data points within 1 hour. Is it 50 data points enough? 45 data points? If you get 45 times, if it breaches out of, within 60 minutes, then you can safely assume something is wrong, right? And then you can set up your auto scaling policies also to step up and step down, scale out and scale in. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
With the combination of auto scaling group and this one. So let's go to CloudWatch, and then it's still okay. EC2 instance is still in okay state. So nothing wrong at this point. Let's wait. Okay, there you go. It crossed it. Now it has to, whenever that next minute is. We'll get the notification. There you go. In alarm now. It's not okay anymore. So see this one? In alarm. In alarm. So I would have gotten an email. There you go. Alarm, CloudWatch EC2 CPU utilization in US East Ohio. You are receiving this email because your Amazon CloudWatch alarm increased.
So CloudWatch still continues to monitor, or it will hold off now because it's raised the alarm?
No, it will continuously monitor.
So you'll get more alarms every minute if it's still above 90%.
No, it's in alarm. It's in alarm state, right?
Okay.
So now what we will do is, let's go. It sends an email. What we'll do is, let's go and close this guy. Okay, I'm not running this script anymore. And now if you wait for a minute, it will come back okay. So that's about the CloudWatch. And one thing I want you to understand, just play with it with the detailed monitoring on. I know it's not free, but we're only talking about, a few cents.
Will be, sorry. Will be there
to terminate your EC2 instance as soon as you are you're comfortable with it, with the concept. Go ahead.
Will be there any agents running on the OS level or certain process which is watching this? When because there should be certain, or do we have that visibility or no?
Any agents within that? So how is your Nagios running these days? You have the Nagios agent running in all of these servers, right? Similarly, your Dynatrace agent or HP, whatever that monitoring tool is. So you will have a tiny daemon running in your machines. Okay. So we talked about physical machine. On top of it, you have a hypervisor. On top of hypervisor, you have multiple virtual machines, right? Each virtual machine has some daemon running, and that continuously sends the metrics to the collector. That's what they call it. In Dynatrace, they call it collector, and the daemon Dynatrace agent will be sitting in all of them, and it keeps collect the data and then send it across to the collector, and collector will do whatever it needs to.
So can we do top going into that OS level and see what kind of processes are running or no?
Can you say that again? Can we?
Can you log into the server? And I want to see, once you log in and do a top, and we can see all the processes running, right?
Right. Maybe you'll be able to.
I just want to see what
EC2 user may not be guy. Yeah, absolutely. I recommend that. See this. Some of these microkernel threads, one of these process behind the scenes. We may not know exactly what it is. Okay, we may not be able to kill it or any of that. But essentially, it will be running. Okay, you will
maybe it is the watchdog. There's a watchdog. Somewhere some watchdog right there. Yeah.
This could be.
No, watchdog is not for the
Not the one. Okay.
No. Watchdog is it's basically it's a Linux level process which always runs. So
okay.
Yep, one of the daemons. One of the daemons will be running in the EC2, and then that will keep sending it to the collector. So,
Venkat, question.
Yes.
So in the alarm dashboard, there were 3 different status. One was, one we tested, right, alarm, and we also looked at okay. The other one was insufficient.
Insufficient data. So
yeah.
Insufficient data means, now see this one? Now we are to okay. So insufficient means, let's say if I change it to, instead of 1 minute, as Ravi was saying, if I change that to every 30 minutes, okay? the first 30 minutes will be in insufficient data because it's not able to determine whether it's an okay state or an alarm state.
Okay.
Okay, first few minutes until it gets the first first byte of data.
Okay. And
Go ahead.
one other question is, suppose say as an action, suppose like my CPU utilization is very high. As a course of action, I would like to create another instance of it, like auto scaling. We can do such setup as well, correct?
Absolutely. Actually, I'll show you how to do that. Probably scale up and down.
Okay, so when you scale it, the instance that comes up on that would be different, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
it's
how
brand new instance. So you will have to create as part of your launch configuration. You will have to specify what AMI you want to, what AMI you want to create the new instance from, and also your bootstrap script. Everything is part of your launch configuration.
And then can we also do like a auto alarm setup, just like how we are saying, okay, copy off of this, configuration. Can I also say mimic this alarm setup for this auto scaled instance?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what we can do at that time is we can create an alarm saying that not to a specific instance ID, but across all the EC2 instances.
Okay.
So I will be creating an alarm not to a specific EC2 instance anymore. I will be creating an alarm across all the EC2 instances form that I have.
Okay, that makes
sense. When a new EC2 instance gets added, obviously, that gets monitored.
Yep.
And then my alarm goes off if things go south, right?
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So this is about CloudWatch. Okay. And there is a important, every time I talk about CloudWatch or someone talks about CloudWatch, we need to talk about an additional feature, something that's unrelated to CloudWatch. It's called CloudTrail. So go to services here within the same management and governance, CloudTrail. So CloudWatch is one service, CloudTrail is another service. These two are completely different. CloudWatch is your infrastructure monitoring service. When things go south, when your CPU utilization goes above a certain limit, this is where you can configure your CloudWatch alarms. But CloudTrail is another AWS service that you use it for audit trail. When you say trail, that's essentially audit trail. So it gives you complete history of what's going on here. Of course, you can create your own trail and then say, hey, I want to see who are all creating new EC2 instances. I want to get the audit trail of it. Okay, you can create a lot of actions. So later on, we'll probably on Saturday, we'll be talking about another service called S3, Simple Storage Service. There, every time somebody creates a new S3 bucket, I need an audit trail here. Then we can create our own trail. But take a look at the default events. So this is what audit trail does. So root account did this one. Let me actually refresh it and then see. Okay. This is a send SH public key. That's an event happened. And root account, put metric alarm, CloudWatch alarm got created by root account. This is my root account, right? I'm logged in with my user, with my email ID and password, by the way. That is why it's calling it as my root username. When you say root username, I want you to understand from both, AWS usage perspective and your certification perspective. When I say root account, or when we say root account, what we are saying here is that log into this one, sign out here. So sign back in, and then it's saying root user. When you say root user, it is you're using your email ID and password. Email ID, and then I'm using my password. Okay, this is my root account. That is why it's my CloudTrail is saying that it's a root account has created this. Root account has created, see that send SH public key. Show me all of that. And then root account has created CloudWatch alarm. Root account has created a SNS subscription and one more simple notification service. SNS topic got created by root account. EC2 instance got created by root account. Monitor instances. EC2 instance is getting monitored by root account. EC2, VPC, and 6 more are done by root account. I was playing with something called placement group earlier, so that's done by root account. So it gives you complete audit trail of who did what account did what. So in your organization, if you guys are using EC2, 10 out of 10 times, 100% of the times, you do not want to use your root account. You want to use, you create your root account, just throw the password somewhere, and then you will create a separate users for everybody, and you will give them the appropriate access. Okay, identity and access management, IAM. So you will create multiple IAM users, and then give them the appropriate access. Okay, appropriate roles, and then within roles you will create multiple policies, etc. So you don't want to give the root account. Anyways, the point is, audit trail is nothing.
So Venkat, a quick question here. So for now, we have to always use root account, right? Till like we have no idea how to create a.
For now,
because every time when I log in, I am using the root account, but you are saying it's not suggestible. But for now, we have to use root account.
Yeah, for now, yes.
Yeah, okay.
For now, I'm saying actually, in all practical scenarios, in office, don't want to do it. Probably we'll do that. That's a good point, Kiran. We can do that today. But my point is about the audit trail. If you want audit trail of what exactly is happening in your AWS account or across the accounts, where do you want to go? CloudTrail. So CloudTrail is nothing but the audit trail. And CloudWatch is your infrastructure level monitoring. At least one question will be there in the certification between the CloudTrail and CloudWatch. They try to confuse you with, they'll say that, use CloudTrail for infrastructure level monitoring. Well, you don't use it. CloudTrail is audit trail and CloudWatch is for monitoring. Make sense?
Venkat,
Yes.
just one clarification. So this CloudWatch that we are setting up, it is for EC2, not for the EBS, right?
That's correct. We did not do it for EBS.
Okay.
But remember, we have seen the option there, EC2, ALB, EBS. We have multiple options there.
Right. So when we do for EBS, would it, like how Dynatrace highlights like SQL statement that is, causing an issue, would these CloudWatch provide such information too?
No. That is APM. So we are talking about infrastructure level monitoring. There is a difference between infrastructure level monitoring with the application performance monitoring. It's abbreviated with APM. So APM is different.
Okay.
What you are saying is APM with the New Relic and Dynatrace agents running on that, an application as a JVM agent there. Okay. For all of your JVM Java-based applications, there's a Dynatrace agent that will be sitting along with your as a daemon inside your JVM, and then it will keep listening to particular aspects, and then keep sending it to the collector. Okay, that will tell you precisely what's going on in the code and all. No, it doesn't tell you that. This is only at the infrastructure level monitoring. This is like your Nagios, and even you have. Even Dynatrace has infrastructure monitoring.
Yep.
Okay. So that's different.
This trail will be there forever.
Is different, logging is different, and your infrastructure level monitoring. So they are at 3 different levels. Infrastructure, application, and then application logging. Yes. Is that right, go?
No, Murli. This trail will be there forever, Venkat, or?
Can you say that again?
This like CloudTrail, will that be there forever? Like you can go back like last month, last year?
Yes. I don't know what's the default setting though, but yes, you will be able to download it. The entire. This is very, very critical, right? You don't want to ideally delete it. The reason is this is what you will supply when things go south for any publicly traded company. When things go wrong,
So this is more like an audit. Yeah.
Exactly. This is your yearly auditing. Your yearly auditing will auditors. They will look at it. Who created what? Why did they create it? Okay, so that's about Audit Trail and CloudWatch. CloudTrail.
Hey, Venkat.
CloudWatch. Yes.
So this is Raghu. So is there a AWS Management Console application that we could download and install? Or is it basically all the management is done through the website only?
All the management is done in two different ways, Raghu.
Okay.
One is through this management console, through the website. Yep. Okay. But this is not the most sophisticated way. Actually, the most sophisticated way is there is a service called AWS Cloud Formation. See this one here?
Okay.
So you can write code to do it. So you can write code to create your application load balancer. You can write code to create your EC2 instance and add it to the target group and assign the target group to your application load balancer and create your Route 53, hosted zone, and then attach it to that. All of this, the complete application can be safely be coded using this cloud formation templates. Okay. And there is another way called command line interface, CLI. Okay. So we'll talk about CLI probably after we talk about S3. Then I'll show you how an EC2 can create S3 buckets. Okay. And that is command line interface. This is like your shell scripts, pretty much, is your instance there? Let's see, might be able to show you. Not sure if it, without CLI utilities, I don't know if it can create it, AWS S3. There you go. So you can use this command called AWS and then S3. I mean, S3 is one of the subcommands. There are several out there. So AWS help, sure. So this is another way to do it. This is your command line interface. And almost every one of this is exposed as a REST endpoint, by the way. I want you to know that. So if you want to create a dashboard using your nifty AngularJS, okay, you can safely do it because they expose everything as an API. So I'm telling you multiple options there. Cloud Formation is one of them, and AWS REST API is another, command line interface is another, and there's another option called SDK, AWS SDK. So you can pretty much write code to configure it. I might be able to show you sometime later in the game. Okay. Okay. So we talked about monitoring. Let's take a look at the monitoring now. Oh, by the way, you can go and look at your EC2 monitoring here also, and then click on this guy and statistics average, last 1 hour, every minute. See this? Every minute how it went up. When we were running the script, it went from 0 to pretty much 100 and then stayed there for a couple of minutes. And then we killed it and it came back and it's running at 0 right now. You can do that. And you can create an alarm here.
So Venkat?
Yes.
This is Srinivas. So you actually attached, I mean, you worked on one EC2 instance, right? So can you also have the CloudWatch on the load balancer with a group of servers?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we saw just now when we saw the CloudWatch, we saw the application load balancer, EC2, ELB, all of them have it. You can
Oh,
definitely.
okay.
So Venkat, I have a question here.
Yes.
So if you have to create multiple alarms, like let's say your CPU utilization greater than 90% and number of requests greater than 100 or something. So will it be 2 alarms separately or one alarm with combination, either this or that?
It's multiple alarms. They're two different things. Remember, we were talking about we don't want to create an alarm for every single EC2 instance. Rather, we want to create an alarm across all the EC2 instances. Similarly, we want to create a second alarm that's again across the form of servers, all the servers, the behavior. That's a better way.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So now let's go ahead and create an auto scaling group. Okay. I wanted to show you an additional policies within auto scaling group. So create auto scaling group. And then the first thing you want to do it is create a launch configuration, as I mentioned it in my previous class. So I'm specifying Amazon Linux AMI, my launch configuration. I'm creating a fleet of web servers. Oh, by the way, request spot instances. Did you see this, guys? Purchasing option, spot instances. So request spot instances to name your own price for the instance types. So spot instances, I want you to understand what this one is. Spot instances is like eBay. You are bidding for your instances. Okay. When you're doing something like genome calculations over the night, okay, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't need to run at the daytime, right? So it can run at, it can start at 1 a.m. and then, it can be done by 5 or 6 o'clock or something like that. And you're building some complex mathematical calculations. Okay. Yeah, some stock trading options you're doing it. So when you do the complex mathematical calculations or several hours of genome calculations like that, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't have to be running in the daytime. At that time, what you can do is you can go for spot instances. Spot instances is like your eBay. So you can bid it. So you can write in such a way that, hey, give me a small spot instance. This is my price. This is my price. You can name your price. There is a hotel booking site, right? It's not Expedia. It's called Priceline. Yeah. This is like Priceline. You can name your price. If it goes below that, then you will be given that box, and then you can run your process, whatever you want to do it. That's about spot instance. Okay. And yes, enable CloudWatch detail monitoring and advanced details. So I'm putting this guy here. I'm only creating the launch configuration at this point. Storage, security group, sure. Use the existing security group, review, create launch configuration. So launch configuration is done. Now I'm creating the auto scaling group. So this is where I wanted to show you. So web servers auto scaling group. Let's go ahead and start with one instance. No problem. Group size is one instance. So what it means is, please start with one instance. It's pretty straightforward. This is also they call it desired capacity, meaning that's my desired capacity. I want one instance. One is fine, or maybe let's do 2, because most of the times you want failover, right? When things go wrong with one. And then I want this to be span across multiple availability zones. It's always a good architecture to span the EC2 instances across multiple availability zone. Now look at advanced details. Load balancing, receive traffic from one or more load balancers. Sure. And my target group is, I don't have any target groups. So I'll take this out. But you understand what I'm saying here is that load balancing. We saw this in the last class, right? Next is health check grace period. So let's take a look at this one. This one, the length of time that auto scaling waits before checking an instance's health status. So it waits for 30 seconds before it keeps checking for the health. So every 30 seconds. And then enable CloudWatch detail monitoring. Yes, please. And then instance protection. Take a look at this one. This may be asked in the exam too. Instance protection. If I select this protect from scale in, then what happens is, if protect from scale in is set, in this case it is set, right? Newly launched instances will be protected from scale in by default. Auto scaling will not select protected instances for termination during scale in. So scale up and scale in, I want you to understand that. So when CPU utilization goes above 80%, scale up, okay? So once CPU utilization goes back below 70% or below 50%, scale down, okay? So when you scale down or scale in, okay? Protect from scale in, that means this EC2 instance, whatever auto scaling group will create, will not be scaled in, okay? And I don't think I want that. I don't want that protection because I want my instances to be scaled in when things go fine. So what it means is, when I need it, I need additional instances. I need that elasticity. But when nobody is there, pretty much, average volume is coming in, then I don't want additional instances. I want additional instances to be terminated automatically. So that's about instance protection. Service linked role is, we didn't talk about IAM roles. Okay, now create an auto scaling group. Let's define policies. In here, you can say keep this group at its initial size, but this is not fun. The actual fun is create your scaling policies. So scaling policies, what did we say in the previous screen? We said, in the previous screen, we said, let's start with 2 instances, right? Okay. And now that is my desired capacity is, let's start with 2 instances, but you can also say that, from 2 all the way go up to 10 instances. Okay. This is the maximum. So no matter what happens to your metrics, okay, you added 9 servers and then, or 10 servers, and all the 10 are busy serving the customers. Even then, it will not add an additional EC2 instance because we made the decision. We made that informed decision saying that, I don't want more than 10 instances. I don't want to pay. Okay. So you can specify absolute minimum, absolute maximum. So it will not go below 2. It will not go above 10 at any point. It will scale between 2 and 10 instances. Does it make sense? And you can define a couple of ways. Scale group size, you can do this one. This is what we did last time. But let's take a look at this one. Scale the auto scaling group using step or simple scaling policies. Let's do it. Increase group size and decrease group size. So this is a scale up. This is scale in. Okay. So increase group size, I'll leave it like that. And do you have any? Yes, CloudWatch EC2 CPU utilization. I have this alarm. So what I'm saying is that if at all this alarm goes off more than 90%, okay, then add an additional capacity units. Let's say 1. Hey, actually, this is on this particular instance ID, right? So we don't want to use that. Add new alarm. Let's use send notification to, sure, Venkat mail. This is fine. Average of maximum of CPU utilization is greater than, let's say, 80% for at least one consecutive period of 5 minutes, or I can say one consecutive periods of 1 minute. Okay. And name of the alarm, create alarm. So I want a new one to be created. So if it goes more than 80%, then add 1 capacity units. Okay.
But this is still for that one instance, right? Or no?
No. I created a brand new alarm.
Brand new one. Okay.
Yep. This is across all the instances that auto scaling group creates it. An instance need, let's say I want to give 30 seconds to warm up. Okay. This is scale up. And now let's talk about scale in. Decrease your group size. So let's go ahead and create a new alarm. What we will do is, go ahead and send this email. If maximum of CPU utilization is less than or equal to, let's say 60%. Okay, for at least 1 minute, one time within 1 minute. Okay, create alarm, and then at that time, so if it's less than 60 for 60 seconds, if it's greater than 80 for 60 seconds, you are adding it. Otherwise, remove 1 instance. So I'm scaling between these two guys. Understand? If CPU utilization goes above 80%, greater than or equal to 80%, then add 1 EC2 instance. If it goes below 60%, less than or equal to 60%, then remove 1 capacity units. Make sense, guys? Configure notification, configure tags. I don't need to do it. Review, create scaling group. Yeah. So desired is 2, minimum is 2, maximum is 10. So desired is how many instances do I have right now, essentially. So to start with, we asked it to start with 2. So there you go. It's doing it. And then make sense? We looked at the simple policy and we looked at the complicated policy now. Actually, auto scaling group. This is what we did. We did step scaling policies. In a simple scaling policy is what we did earlier. So essentially it will only scale up or based on whatever the metrics that you provided, right? Okay, it's both of them are successful. And did we enable the detail monitoring? I believe yes. This is old one. This is web server 1. And this guy, no alarms configured. Yes, detail monitoring is enabled. Okay. Now I'll create one of them. I'll connect to one of these guys and then say, let me crank up the CPU. In fact, we saw that, but it's a scaling up and scaling down. That's what we will be seeing it, and especially with the detail monitoring. Okay, any questions? Regu? So what was your configuration? Tell me.
My configuration was, I think, had set it between 5 to 50. And the desired capacity was at 5.
Okay. Desired capacity was 5, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Then why would it go, it will not go above that? I mean, it tries to maintain that 5. That's your desired capacity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So even though I think the utilization went to 100%, even then it stayed at 5, then even I turned off the and if the CPU utilization went down, even then it stayed at 5.
CPU utilization goes down, it stayed at 5, makes sense. If you crank up all 5 at the same time, okay? If you crank up all 5 EC2 instances at the same time to 100%, then it will add, because your desired capacity is 5, then it will add 5 more. And if you have a scale-in policy or termination policy, then it will terminate it based on your policy.
So what you're saying is basically I should keep the desired capacity at 2 and keep the minimum at 2 to 50.
Yes.
Then I can see, then in case it goes, the CPU utilization goes to 100%, it should crank it up, or if I turn it off, it will crank it down.
You have to put your scale-in policy is what I'm saying. Like how we, right? So you have to reduce. No, 5 is fine, but you have to put your scale-in policy also. What is your scale-in policy?
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
And also we need to run that script in all the 5 servers.
Exactly. That's what I mean by cranking up CPU on all 5. So you have to run it on all 5. Okay.
So Venkat,
yes.
if I have minimum set for 5 and maximum for 50, and if one of them, because it happened with me as well, I was trying to run that that loop, and I ran it on one of them, but did not add what who is mentioning. Do I have to run that loop in all 5 of those in order to make it goes all 5 to 100% CPU, and then 90% CPU, and then we start adding? Is that what you're trying to tell? I'm sorry.
No. Probably. Let's wait for a minute here. Let's wait for a minute here. So this is 48626 for this guy. So let's look at the monitoring and any other questions? Meanwhile, let me ask a question about security group. What is a security group?
Like a firewall?
Yep, security group is like virtual firewall. Okay. Security groups, what happens if I remove all the outbound rules?
Your web page will not display.
That's inbound, right?
Nothing.
Actually, nothing happens.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing happens because it stays within the server.
Nope, it's not for that. Not for that. There is a concept called, I know we didn't talk about it, but in EC2, let me take you to security group, okay? It's a very, very important question in the exam. So let's say this is a security group, my security group, okay? Take a look at the rules. Here you have inbound rules and outbound rules. By default, do you know when you create a new security group, what will happen here in the inbound rules? Do you have anything in the inbound rules? By default.
I think, yeah, we have that 22 open for everyone.
Say that again?
22 part open for everyone, I think, if I'm not wrong, by default, when you do the first time.
That's absolutely wrong.
No.
And do you want to open your port 22?
Not really, but
you do not want
no, absolutely,
to be open to the world. Okay, that's wrong. I know. Meaning this configuration is bad. So this is wrong, but I mean this is bad, not wrong. This is bad. Okay. So by default, when you create a new security group, no inbound rules, meaning no traffic is allowed. By default, no traffic is allowed. I want you to know that. And outbound rules, by default, all the traffic is allowed outbound rules. But security group is something called, it's a stateful in nature. Security groups are stateful in nature, meaning if you allow request in, the response will be automatically allowed. So if you allow port 22 from a particular IP address, that means when a packet is coming into your EC2 instance and your outbound, all by default, it is allowed. So even if I remove this guy completely, delete it, it will still have no effect, is my point. Because security groups are stateful. You do not need to put both the directions of the rules. You need to put it, if you allow inbound on a particular port for a particular IP address, your outbound is allowed by default for those guys only. But by default, your inbound rule is empty. So the reason is, there is a very similar concept, like security group. There is another concept called NACL, NACL, Network Access Control List. We will talk about that later when we talk about VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. Okay, so there is a concept called NACL, Network Access Control List. In Network Access Control List, it is not stateful. You have to define both sides. Okay. And that's the difference between security group and NACL. We'll talk about it when we talk about VPC. And there is one more important point about security group is, can you specify, deny? I want to deny a specific IP address on this particular port. Can I deny that using security group?
I don't think so, no.
No, there is no such thing called deny rules. By default, everything is denied until you allow it.
So let me ask you one quick question here.
Yes.
So you have 5 different. Let's take on-premise data center.
Mm-hmm.
So we will have a DMZ zone. We will have within our network, basically the servers in the DMZ zone is exposed to external world. But for my internal main servers, I don't want them to be exposed, but they will run within our data center. And you need VPN access, or you have certain rules and firewall rules.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you do that, but within my internal network, I'll keep it open, everything. I don't really care about which server communicates to which server.
Yep.
So how does that work? Because now I don't want everyone to publicly to come into my EC2 instances. I want to create one virtual network within those instances, not really, and still communicate within the network.
Yep. That's a classic example of your VPC, Virtual Private Cloud. So we'll talk about that when we talk about Virtual Private Cloud. That's a
Okay.
Weekend is dedicated for that. It's a most important topic, and most sort of in a way complicated, because that's where we talk about your subnets and all.
Okay. No. Okay. Sorry then.
So that's the most important. That is where you will see a concept called NACL, NACL, Network Access Control List. Look at it, guys, in your auto scaling group. So we talked about something else, but take a look at this. Instances may be in the process of launching or terminating in order to match desired capacity. Try refreshing the table. You can also view the instance tab, etc. So your desire is to, right now it's 3. Why? Because it realized that in your EC2 dashboard, guys, take a look at your EC2 dashboard. Oh, where is this guy? this is our web server 1. Web server 1 was intact. Let's go take a look at your auto scaling group activity, what's going on there. So the beauty with auto scaling group is that, oh, things happen so fast. Okay, let's take a look at it. Take a look at the terminating policy. So this is 729. That's when we started, or 736. So launching a new EC2 instance based on this. And then we're saying launching a new EC2 instance because we need it. Okay. Okay. Take a look at this one, guys. At 2023-26, blah, a monitor alarm CPU utilization. See this one, ASG, high CPU utilization in state alarm triggered policy, decrease group size, changing the desired capacity from 4 to 3. Between desired and actual capacity, shrinking the capacity from 4 to 3. And see this one, another monitor alarm, it went off, and then, so what exactly happened is, alarm went off, and then it increased the size. Okay, and then it was continuously checking, right? So this guy went this one. So on this particular instance, 412C5, a monitor alarm CPU utilization in alarm trigger policy, increase group size changes from desired to 3 to 4. Take a look at 412C5. Let me open this to be let me open it. EC2 dashboard, running instances. Take a look at this guy. So what happened? The first scenario that happened at 7:39:25 is 412C5 instance. 412C5. 412C5. Okay. Oops, sorry. The instance is DF603. CPU utilization in state alarm triggered policy increase group size changing from the desired capacity from 2 to 3, because to start with we had 2 instances, but it realized that one of the 2 instances cranked up the CPU, and CPU went above 80%, and then it triggered an alarm, and that alarm triggered, that alarm triggered on this particular DF603. DF603. DF603 launching a new, this is launching a new instance. Okay. A monitor alarm CPU utilization state alarm triggered policy increase group size changing. So because of an alarm, it created a brand new instance, this particular new instance. Okay. And we can go look at those alarms, what exactly happened. And then what happened? Okay, this got created, and then it went from 2 to 3. And then what happened? A monitor went on again in state triggered policy increase group size, changing the desired capacity from 3 to 4. Okay. And then it realized, because we are waiting for 30 seconds to go off, right? So within that period, if alarm goes off again, then it will trigger. Then the next time next minute it ran, right? It realized that, okay, sorry guys, you're newly created, because the capacity has gone up from 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 within the short period, and then it came back from 4 to 3. Okay. So what happened here? It terminated this particular instance ADCFD. Okay. Now 3 to 2. Now how many instances do we have? Okay, desired instance 2. Okay. There are only 2. So where is our guy? Our guy F48626. This guy got terminated. So we cranked up the CPU, and then it realized that the CPU has gone up. There is there's a CloudWatch alarm, and then it added an additional EC2 instance into the pool, and then it again made sure the desired capacity is matched. But one thing that I'm trying to find out is, did we mention the termination policy like that? Okay, right now this guy is an alarm. Okay, CPU utilization less than 60. Okay, that is the alarm. So we created an alarm to go, if at all CPU utilization goes below 60%, then, create an alarm is what we put it, right? So at this point, there are 2 of them that are in okay state. The other one is an alarm, but this is sort of a bad alarm because your CPU utilization is less than or equal to 60%, because we wanted to use this as a termination policy or scale-in policy. Scale-in policy or termination policy means the same. Essentially, bring down your servers. So between scale up and scale in, make sure that you are, you have your desired capacity. Let's go to EC2 and let's go to auto scaling group. It's making sure that instances are 2. So now what I want to do is, what happens if I crank up both of them at the same time? It will make sure between scaling up and scaling in, it will make sure that my desired capacity is matched. Does it make sense? And the maximum 10, when you say maximum 10, did you guys understand, when I say maximum 10 here, at some point intermittently, the number of EC2 instances went from 3 to 4 also. So our desired is 2, but it ended up scaling up to 4 in the process. At that time, it will look at the number of maximum instances. Hey, how many maximum instances can I have at any time? Well, my maximum is 10. Then okay, if I am below 10, then I will scale up. No matter what happens, if I cross that maximum number of instances, then I'll not do it. Does it make sense? Do you guys want to try on your own these concepts?
Definitely.
Especially
Sure.
the step, the one I just did. This one makes a lot of sense because you are not only scaling up, you are actually looking at the scaling down also. Okay. And what I will do is I will bring up some real AWS questions, probably later, certification questions, probably later in the game after you're comfortable with everything. And then I will show you how the questions are asked. They're not easy, but it's a very tough certification. I want you to know, but it's fun. Architecting for it and knowing it, and it's fun. A lot of fun, but it's not easy. Some of them are easy. CloudWatch and CloudTrail, pretty straightforward. Security groups, I'm starting to create these exam tips. I will do that, and I'll share that with you. It's definitely going to help you. Okay. Can I ask a question, everybody? If anyone is not sleeping, I'm joking. So, can I attach security group to multiple EC2 instances?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Can I attach multiple security groups to the EC2 instance?
No.
No. Can I attach multiple security groups to an EC2 instance? Guys, move on. You can. So this is my EC2 instance, right? So security groups here. So this is my EC2 instance. Networking, attach, change security groups. I can add all of these security groups.
So what if there is a conflict, Venkat, there with the inbound rules?
There's no such thing called deny, right? It's only allow, right? By default, everything is denied. Remember we just talked about it? It's the combination of all of this will be allowed.
Okay.
Assign security groups. Absolutely, you can. See this one? All of these security groups have been assigned to EC2. Does it make sense?
Yep, and I think while I was configuring the load balancer also, it is, and we can select all the security group what we have.
Right.
Yep.
And shall I tell you something else while we are on that subject? Edit inbound rules. Okay. What you can do is, all along you've been doing this, HTTP port 80 on this particular IP, etc., right? But you can also specify the other security groups. Do you know that? Meaning, a traffic can be allowed from another security group. Let's say you have all of your web servers in one security group. Let's say you have your database server. You want your database server to be accessed on port 1521. Let's say Oracle port is for port 1521. I want 1521 to be accessed from all the instances associated with this particular security group, which is my web servers. So I want web servers only to access my database servers is the essential idea behind that. Make sense?
Yes.
So these will get you a couple of marks in the exam. So definitely. Okay.
One other observation I noticed yesterday.
Yes.
Deleting a auto scale group will not delete instances created by ASG.
Deleting an auto scaling group will not delete.
No, it does usually.
I thought it does. Exactly.
Yeah,
So
because I did it multiple times.
When I deleted auto scaling groups, it didn't really delete that, right?
Take a look at this one. So this is an auto scaling group. Anyway, I'm done with this one. Let's go ahead and delete it. I thought it does delete it.
Yeah, that's what I saw. I mean, because I did it multiple times, so that every time I deleted the auto scaling group, it deleted all the instances that was created.
Exactly.
Is that the okay?
That's the.
I thought otherwise because I didn't see it deleted. They are still existing and running actually.
Let's give it. So, anyways, that's about the auto scaling group security. And Kiran was mentioning about, hey, there you go. See that?
Yeah.
It could happen.
Otherwise.
No, it could happen that maybe you might have previously running EC2 separate instances.
This one, only this guy will continue to run because it was created outside of my auto scaling.
Very good. That is why it keeps running.
But it is dangerous, right? I mean, if someone go and delete auto scaling group by mistake, that means all the instances go away.
You want that to happen naturally, right, Ravi?
Yeah. I mean, probably. I mean, in some certain scenarios, I think it is still dangerous though, because I want a copy of my instance, which I created, or you can go and.
When you want copy of the instance, then we are talking about AMIs there.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't want a live instance to be, to need for a copy, right? All you need is an AMI. AMI is backed by snapshot, right?
No, I agree. I agree that. But again, so for example, certain applications, I don't really want to go away. I mean, if I delete the ASG, that means whatever I created, it's gone technically.
Understood your point. But the auto scaling group, again, you don't want to delete auto scaling group. Okay, by the way, using CloudFormation or using CloudFormation, you can create an auto scaling group. It's simple, it's simple script.
No, I'm not worried about auto scaling group. I'm more worried about the instances running created using auto scaling group.
Yeah, because they are attached. They were actually, who created the life cycle? Let's talk about the life cycle. Did you create them? You did not.
Yep.
No, I mean, not. Auto scaling group created it. So who gave the birth to these EC2 instances? You did not. Auto scaling.
Yeah, and they were created to meet a need for increase.
Exactly. And for all practical purposes, that's how you want it to behave it, right? Birth and death completely. The life cycle was managed by auto scaling group itself. So, okay, that's about auto scaling group and instances. One more point. What's the EBS? What does the EBS stand for? Elastic Block Store. What is Elastic Block Store, by the way?
It's a physical storage.
Volume.
It's a volume. Essentially, it's a hard disk that's attached to your EC2 instance, right? Yep. So can you attach multiple volumes to it?
Yeah, I think so. If you want to increase the hard drive.
Like how you can attach multiple hard drives to your computing source, like your laptop or desktop. Similarly, you can do it. So multiple volumes, you can do it. Volumes are at the raw data essentially. Okay. But one thing though is, see here, guys, everybody, we created this EC2 instance here. Okay. And this EC2 instance, when I created, I gave the 8 gig disk space, right? So go take a look at this volume here. This is the volume that was created. Web server 1 was created for my EC2 instance. It's 8 gig. The volume type is GP2, meaning it's a general purpose. Okay. And IOPS is 100. Input output per second is 100. That's throughput essentially. And its availability zone is US East to C. Can you tell me, based on this one, if I tell you that this is my volume attached to this is my EBS volume attached to an EC2 instance, can you tell me my EC2 instance's availability zone? Did you guys understand my question actually, or no? Did I confuse you successfully?
I didn't get it.
Sure. Did you understand? This is I'm looking at a volume here. Did you understand? I'm looking at a volume here, guys. This is a hard disk.
Mm-hmm.
Volume is nothing but a hard disk. It's a EBS, Elastic Block Store volume. It's a hard disk attached to an EC2 instance. Make sense? And this volume, it's telling me that it is in US East to C. What do you think? Where do you think the associated EC2 instance
so
is?
that actual hard disk is in the US East C.
To C. You got it. And is it possible that your EC2 instance can be in 2A or 2B? I think that was my question. It's a direct certification question.
No, unless we specify, we will not.
No. Right. It's basically a data center, right?
Can you repeat that? Unless what?
When we creating the instance, we have a choice to configure it that one, right? In the availability zone.
We will not have a choice for EBS volume. EBS volumes are
automatically.
No, I'm repeating it. EBS volumes are the hardware attached to your computing resource. Okay, to your EC2 instance. So EBS volumes will be in the same availability zone as in your EC2 instance.
That's the whole point, right? I mean, that's where we want to create. That means we are expecting our data to come into that from that particular availability zone. I mean,
yeah.
Why we want to have? I want to create my EC2 instance in 2C. That means I'm expecting my data is within 2C. That means my volume should be in 2C. Am I correct or wrong?
Not really. I mean, you're correct to an extent, but I'll tell you. The point that you made is correct, meaning EC2 instance is in 2C and the EBS volume will be in 2C only. That point alone is correct. Okay. Let me repeat it. If an EC2 instance is in US is 2C, your EBS volume can only be in US is 2C. It has to be in the same availability zone, meaning I'll put it differently. Your compute resource, like your CPU and your hard disk, must be in the same availability zone. Maybe that's simple enough. You don't want your CPU in Cleveland, Ohio, and the hard disk to be somewhere else. Does it make sense? They will be in the same availability zone for all practical reasons. And you cannot do it. My point is, you cannot separate them. AWS does not allow that. I can show you that. So what I'm saying is that if I have a volume in US East 2A, let's say I create a volume here, okay? I'm creating a US East 2A. Creating a volume, it's a general purpose SSD, guys. Volume types are general purpose SSD GP2 or provision IOPS. Provision IOPS meaning it's super high read write into the database. Okay, this is good for high performing database, etc. And the cold hard disk drive, this is like a previous generation hard disk drives. Okay, your magnetic, and these are all pretty cheap ones. Okay, and throughput optimized is for mainly for the data warehousing, etc. That's for special needs. But general purpose is SSD, and provision IOPS is expensive, but you'll be able to read write super fast. Okay, well, let's go with the general purpose SSD and 100 gig, no problem. Availability zone into US is 2A. I'm creating it. Go ahead.
Quick question. So I think it's showing 100 gig right now. I think usually it showed 8 gig.
8 gig when I was creating an EC2 instance.
Okay.
This one, I'm creating a hard disk. All along, we have been creating an EC2 instance here, right? Launch instance, pick up your OS, and then your T2 micro, your type, and then your number of instances, and you figure out your subnet. Well, I want to do it in 2C or 2B, let's say, and then click on storage. See, by default, it's 8 gig. Okay, this is where your root device volume is getting attached to your EC2 instance. Does it make sense?
Venkat, in the previous screen, you can use multiple choice, right? And the availability zones, you can use all three, right? The previous screen.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Here? No, you can only select one of them, because where do you want your EC2 instance to be created? Okay. The one you are confused with, Kiran, is when you create an application load balancer. That time you can specify, I want my application load balancer to send the traffic to all the instances within these availability zones. There you will select all the availability zones that you want ALB to send traffic to. Does it make sense? Okay. So 2B, and here I'm adding the storage. This is the root device volume. Root device volume is where your operating system will be installed. And it doesn't even see here in the previous screen. Here I specified that I want my EC to be installed in 2B, and in my storage will automatically be in 2B. period. You cannot have a storage in 2C and your EC2 instance in 2B. Does it make sense? Volume and EC2 instance. The reason I'm stressing this much is there is another concept called EFS, elastic file storage. Okay, that EFS, you can have it anywhere, any availability zone, pretty much multiple EC2 instances can write to that, can read from it. We'll talk about that. I'll have a lab on that one too. So
similar to NFS?
Yes. So it's actually uses NFS protocol.
Okay.
Okay, NFS v4, I think it uses that protocol to write and read. NFS mount essentially. Okay, it's like having an external hard drive, but this is not an external hard drive. This is sort of attached. So this is your root device volume, and then your here you can specify. Do you want your general purpose SSD or magnetic or provisioned IOPS? You can specify that how many IOPS you'll be getting it, and your throughput. Delete on termination, guys. Take a look at this one here. Delete on termination, meaning, do you want your hard disk to be deleted when an EC2 instance is terminated? If I uncheck this one, then even though I terminate my EC2 instance, my volume will still be there. I will be able to reattach it to another EC2 instance later on. Make sense? But for the root volume, by default, delete on termination will be true. But if I attach an additional volume, meaning if I am attaching an additional hard disk, okay, then by default this is unchecked, because this is a secondary guy. Root volume is where operating system gets installed. So by default, when an EC2 instance gets terminated, you want your root device or root volume to be deleted too. Make sense? And by the way, you will be able to encrypt both root device volume and additional EBS volumes. If you want your encryption to be, if you want your data to be encrypted, absolutely you can do it. Encryption at rest will be enabled. Make sense? And this is an additional volume type, meaning it's a first hard disk, and this is a second hard disk. It's an EBS volume you added, and my second hard disk, I want 100 gig to be. And delete on termination, no, I do not want. And review and launch, I'll go ahead and launch it.
So Venkat, can you add volume based off an alarm?
Can I add volume based of an alarm? Meaning when you
Same thing like auto scaling, but if you are running out of that 8 gig, I want the volume to be automatically added.
You will be able to do it, Murali. You will be able to do it, but I don't know if I would recommend that. Actually, you don't have to use this. This is like this is your core. This is like your core hard disk that's directly attached to EC2. But for all practical purposes, for your application, you want your data to be written into, there is a different one called EFS. Okay. You want your external, EFS is like an external hard drive. You want to attach that external hard drive. And the beauty with EFS is that your thousands of EC2 instances will be able to write into the single EFS, and everybody will be able to read it. And it gives a lot of IOPS, and it's a most effective way of dealing with it. Okay.
So one more question.
A couple of years back, I think. Yes, go ahead.
I don't want to add an additional storage volume or a volume in this case. I want to extend it.
You want what?
I want to extend my existing volume. For example, I want to make that 820. Is that possible?
It is possible. It is possible. Actually, I can show you that in, okay, I can, give me a minute, okay? See, this is our instance. let me call this guy as newly created instance.
So Venkat, when we create this volume, the snapshot would be created behind the scene, would have both the storage capacity that we mentioned, that one that we need to terminate, one we need to delete on the termination, and one with the ESP, both would be there on the snapshot.
Your vocabulary is a little wrong, but let me go there. Okay. See, this is an EC2 instance, right? Newly created instance. Let's go to volumes here. So these are the two volumes that got created. Let's go to snapshots here. There's no snapshots. Okay. So it's not the snapshots, it's a volumes. Okay. So these two volumes are what we to answer I think Ravi's question. For actions, you can modify the volume. In fact, you can modify your volume type also. You can change from general purpose SSD to magnetic with 100 gig. Absolutely, you can do it. You can modify that. Okay, are you sure that you want to modify volume one? It may take some time for performance changes to take effect. You may need to extend the OS file system to the volume to use any newly allocated sure. Okay, you will be able to do that.
So can I do it on the fly? Sorry, I mean, when I say that, I mean, when the application is up and running.
You can do that, but it's not recommended. You always want to stop your instance, not at the application level. I'm saying instance. So stop your instance, change it, and start your instance. That's the most preferred.
But I mean, yeah, it's preferred, but is it possible to do like online? When I say online, when an application and instance is up and running?
It's possible. It's possible. But you don't want to do it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I want you to pay attention to a couple of points here, guys. See here, US is 2B, US is 2B. We just created these two volumes. Did we explicitly create these volumes? No. We created an EC2 instance just now in US East 2B, this guy. We created this in US East 2B. Where is this guy? Where is this guy? Do you guys see that? Okay. We just created this EC2 instance US East 2B, and we attached two hard disks. And take a look at these are the two hard disks. One is 8 gig, the other one is 100 gig. Okay. And these two are GP2. And one thing I told you is, yes, you'll be able to change it on the fly. And number two, yes, you will be able to encrypt it. Both of them, your root device volume can be encrypted, and non-root devices, the other EBS volumes can also be encrypted. And that's an additional point. And the another point I wanted to make is your EBS volumes, both root and additional EBS volumes must be in the same availability zone as your EC2 instance. I can't stress this enough now. Okay. And the point is, when I create the additional point is, when I terminate my EC2 instance, I'm going ahead and instance state terminate. When I terminate, because my volume has the check mark there saying that go ahead and delete it when EC2 instance gets terminated, my instance will be gone. My 8 gig guy should be gone in 2B, and once that is done, okay, this guy will be gone. But this 100 gig guy will not be deleted, because I said I want this to stay even if my EC2 instance gets terminated. Does it make sense? There you go, it's gone. And this volume is, the status is changed from in use to available, because this hard disk exists. It's there, it's available, but it's not attached to any EC2 instance. Make sense? And I can attach this guy to an EC2 instance. And here it will give me the EC. Oh, there you go. I'm showing an additional point here. So now, did you understand this? This is an hard disk. This is an EBS volume that I have in USEs 2B, and go to actions, attach volume. I'm trying to attach this EBS volume to an EC2 instance. but I have at least one instance out there. Why is it not, sorry, why is it not showing me this one? Read this guy. No matching running or stopped instances were found in availability zone USOs East to B. So you will not be able to attach your EBS volume to an EC2 instance outside of that availability zone. Underline that 5 times. I mentioned it. Does it make sense? Can I make it any more clearer than that? So even though I have my EC2 instance running, since it is running in USES 2C, I was not able to attach that volume because your EBS volume and your EC2 instance must be in the same availability zone. Okay. Let me go to volumes and this guy, I'll delete this volume. And this is not a root device volume, but this is a root device. The next one is a root device volume. This is an USES 2C. What happens if I terminate that instance? What happens if I terminate the web server 1? The associated root device volume will be gone, meaning the main hard drive will be deleted when I terminate my EC2 instance, is the point I'm making. Okay. By the way, in EC2 dashboard, I wanted to show you something else called my instance types. Okay, spot request. This is where you can request your spot instances. You know, this is where you can bid for your instance. Okay, and then this is where you can go for reserved instances. So far, whatever we have been practicing, these are called on-demand instances, meaning you will pay for the resources that you use it. And Amazon goes to the extent of per second billing in some cases. I don't know if EC2 is one of them or not. Like that, EC2 per second billing. I don't know if it's per second billing is EC2 users are billed on 1 second increments. There you go. Apparently EC2 is one of them. So EC2 per second billing, if you use it for 39 seconds, then you'll be charged for 39 seconds. Okay, but that's not the case with reserved instances. That's my point. Reserved instances are, you can purchase it. Okay, you will end up paying much less with reserved instances. If you know that you need at least 10 EC2 instances for your capacity, I mean, you may need more based on your needs for your Black Friday and Cyber Monday and you know, Valentine's Day, etc. But normally, in all normal circumstances, you know that you need about 10 T2 micros, let's say. Okay, you can purchase it. You can purchase your you know, based on the platform. You can say Linux, Unix, okay, T2 micro, tenancy default. Let's search for it. And then see this one. If I go for 12 months, I'm effectively paying whatever, you know, this is not even 7 cents, 10th of a 7 cent. Upfront is this much, hourly rate is blah. And this one, if I go for 36 months contract, okay, AWS, and then what's this, guys? Let me add to cart. No, let's go with, I want to pay everything upfront. Payment type, no upfront, partial upfront, all upfront. There you go. If I want to pay complete upfront for 36 months, I'll get the cheapest price. Pretty much upfront price is $115. If it's 12 months, then it's $59. 60 times 3 is $180 I'll be paying, right? For 3 years. But here I'm paying $115 for T2 micro. Let's say T2 medium. T2 medium is $270. For 36 months, I'll get it for $458. This is one of the cheapest prices. I can tell you that. For 36 months, you're done. You don't have to pay anything for this T2 medium. Okay. And in cloud terminology, people use this word quite a bit, tenancy. Tenancy, you might have heard this, tenants, multi-tenant environment, or yeah, you definitely might have heard this term, multi-tenant environment in cloud especially, right? So what it means is, well, when you go for public cloud, like AWS or Microsoft Azure, obviously you will be sharing with others. That's what they mean by multi-tenant. Your EC2 instance is underlying hardware is same. Maybe you and I, your virtual machine and my virtual machine may be sitting on a same underlying physical server. That physical server may be on the same rack, and rack is where all of your network components and some of these hard disks, they get attached, okay, at the rack level. So network components and all, they get shared. So you are sharing with several other people. That's why you are paying that that cheap price. This is not a dedicated host. Okay, so multi-tenancy, when I say multi-tenancy, is that's what you are, other tenants are there in the same apartment building, essentially. Okay, but I want dedicated host for some regions. I want dedicated host, and give me that. Our dedicated host looks like T2 medium is not supported. T2 large, dedicated, no. T2 extra large, no. Maybe we have to go to T3. Okay, maybe T3. T3 is the next guy. So 36 months. If I want a dedicated host, then I'm paying $279 upfront. Is it all upfront? Yes. This is your dedicated host. You're not sharing with others, and you can gladly use it. So that's your spot requests. I told you spot instances are like your eBay, and this is your dedicated host. That's it, pretty much. And maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to talk about, since we're talking about everything, security here, identity and access management. Go to IAM here, identity and access management. So by default, see this one here, delete your root access keys. So manage your security credentials, by default. AWS recommends you do all of these ones. Activate your MFA. MFA stands for multi-factor authentication on your root account. Especially on your root account, it's critical to have a multi-factor authentication. So, because, especially for any of your corporate accounts, personal is fine. For what we're doing is fine, but it's definitely not recommended to have just the password for your root account. You want your password and some other multi-factor. So you can manage your multi-factor authentication. And there are several options for multi-factor authentication. It supports Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, and even the phone number. But the virtual MFA device. So the virtual MFA is, how many of you guys know what I mean by virtual MFA here? Virtual MFA is like a Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator. So you install your Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. Show this one, and then you set it. What is that?
Yeah, it's more a dual sign-on, something like
yes.
that.
Yep. So it's a multi-factor authentication. they call it 2FA, right? Two-factor authentication. It's multiple factors. Here it's MFA. I know it's but it's two-factor essentially. Two factors. One is something that you know and something that you have. Something that you know your password. So in addition to the password, I'm also using a multi-factor authentication. So these are all the compatible devices. Your physical form factor, your Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator. Where are your physical features, compatibility, root account, virtual MFA, Android and iPhone. See this one, you have LastPass Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator. These are all supported. Okay. You guys try on your own this one. It's very easy. If you can't do it, I'll set up something, one of the days. So no problem. I'll talk about it.
But for MFA, you need to create your IAM, right? Without IAM, this will not work, I guess.
This is for your root account.
Oh, okay. For root account.
Yep.
Okay.
Activating MFA for your root account. And this is where I think it's a good idea to spend some time on this one. This is groups. These are users. Kiran, this is where you want to create a user for yourself and then do not use the root account and give yourself very limited role. Okay, so that you can only do so much, and then use that account and leave your root account safely somewhere. And then always keep your multi-factor authentication on for your root account. It's important. And then we'll talk about rules and policies, and all the AWS policies are stored in JSON files. Okay, so this is how a typical policy looks like, what you can and cannot do it. You are allowing all these actions for this particular role. This is the policy name. And if you give that policy to a role, then, we'll talk about it. Users, rules, policies, groups, we'll talk about it. And in your own company, you may have your own LDAP for your employees. You can set up that one too. So you can definitely set up your own identity providers, essentially. This is where your company, because you don't want to have a separate password for AWS, right? For all the corporate accounts, you want to use your own LDAP. Your employees already have a user ID and password. You want them to use it. So this is where you'll create new identity providers. And
can we do SSO?
Yes, absolutely. That's my point. So your identity provider is your own LDAP. I will, it takes some time, probably. I'll do a separate session on this one. So no worries. Okay. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. If you do not understand something, I'll make sure you understand. Okay. That's my only goal. I'll take an additional class and I'll take it one-on-one if needed for you guys, if some of you or any of you is struggling. So don't worry about it. So please do not panic. Okay. I'm here all the way through. So do not worry about it. And the next class, we'll talk about S3. And, it's a simple, interesting concept. And after that, I want to mix sort of EC2 and S3 together using some command line interface concepts. Okay. And there are a couple more concepts in EC2, something like, instance metadata, user data, and, instance metadata. How can I get it once I log into EC2? I think it's not fair since we have been talking since 6:30. You must be tired. So I will do a separate video on that. Instance metadata and EFS is an important concept for both, real life example and certification. I'll do it. And CLI. So, but what we'll do Saturday, Sunday is we'll go ahead and get started on S3, and also there's a CDN technology, content delivery network called CloudFront. We'll do both, and then we'll combine both EC2, S3 together and try to do something fun. Okay. Any questions at this point? That's all I've got. Do you guys have any questions?
No, I think so. Venkat, when will the video for this be posted?
I'll do it right now. Give me about 20-30 minutes for it to be converted. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So when for the certifications, is it like particular services we need to prepare, or how?
Yes, all the services that I will be covering here, pretty much, Murali. You follow my videos, if you follow all of these concepts, along with, in the end, I'm planning on giving like exam tips, okay? Separate PowerPoint presentation. So if we do all of that, and then towards the end, I'll give you more suggestions for the exam. But please, all of you take it very seriously. And this is my goal for you guys, okay? After this course is over, give yourself exactly 30 days. Please do not give more than 30 days. If you give more than 30 days, then you're not going to pass. I can tell you that. Just give yourself 30 days and then just meditate on it. You'll be fine. I'm there to help you.
So Venkat, can we directly go to AWS Architect certificate, or we need to do the pre?
No, just AWS Solutions Architect Associate. Do it. Trust me, you'll pass with the flying cars. It's again, it is not an easy one. Okay, I had to sweat myself. I'll tell you. It's I've been a real-time architect, AWS architect for some time. So, but that's why I'm here. Okay, I'm here to help you guys. So I'll show you some practical how they look like, the questions, and give you exam tips, and yep, everything. Okay, that's all, guys. By the way, I just terminated my EC2 instance, right? I just terminated my EC2 instance. My volume, my root device volume would have been gone. Yes, it's gone. Because the default behavior of the root device volume is that when an EC2 instance is terminated, your volume will be deleted automatically. But that's not the case with the subsequent volumes. Root device volume, by default, the checkbox is on, right? Do you want me to delete when an EC2 instance is terminated? If you uncheck that, then your volume would not have been deleted. Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Venkat,
stay home.
Venkat,
yes.
One last question. So,
absolutely.
Thank you, Venkat.
The snapshot one, you were showing that diagram. When we take a snapshot, we take the whatever the memory or consumption, or whatever the data consumption, whatever the data storage for last period of time between the last snapshot and this snapshot. I was trying to look for that diagram. I went to the document link, but for some reason I could not find it.
Did I show something diagram? Or?
Yeah. Remember that for the snapshot, right? Yeah. Like we get the snapshot for the incremental, right?
I get it.
Yep.
Amazon EBS snapshots, and then this guy.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Okay. Got it. Yep. Thank you.
You want me to share this guy somewhere in chat?
Yeah, that will be perfect. Yep. I probably saved the same URL. I went to the same URL, but for some reason, maybe
all the way down.
Maybe I would double check.
Yeah, I was reading something, and then I found this diagram. I was like, wow, this guy explained it pretty neatly. I mean, I don't think I can explain better than this. It's like, okay, why not use it?
Yeah, it's a nice one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, right there. Yep, I saw that.
He explained it pretty nicely.
Yep, because I was trying to read something on the snapshot and accidentally, I'm like, I know Venkat has this diagram. And I look at the link, I know it's a document somewhere, and I'm like, okay, let me find out, but could not find correctly. Thank you.
I can, so in my website, what I can do is some helpful, links or something, and I can drop these guys eventually. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Okay, guys.
Yep,
thank you, Venkat.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye.